Back here on Daily Thetha and design ya di space tsa rona ko di township ni ya thusha gore bo radikgwebo ba kgone go thrive. That township economy, is it able to thrive due to the space and how the space has been designed? Now we've been having very interesting conversation, but one of the things that we have to look at definitely the status quo, who does it benefit? Because if it's benefiting someone, it means that there's a burden on another person.
As one did we share before say there is an element of participation that we need to take into consideration. When big businesses, they have the money, they have the planning, they then end up pulling us into a position of saying, I can only end up dreaming as far as having it a garage. I can also save money by not going and renting. But we glorify Ugo Renta Eslongweni, but we are struggling to even maintain these businesses in our own townships. But also someone which is Tsietsi Ngobese, who's an actuary, but also a business owner, but someone of course, and the opportunities. Tsietsi, welcome to the show.
No, thank you for having me.
I just come something very important. I just come about, in your opinion, who really is carrying the burden of the economy due to spatial planning?
Okay. So my name is Tsietsi Ngobese. I'm the current actual analyst and CEO at WeSolve4X. So our core business is providing actual valuation report for your road accident fund, and we have, as a way of giving back, we run a mass tutoring program where we teach learners and parents how to help their kids with maths and also teach them business for free, while we have a stockfell model of 250 per month that comes with grocery benefits, so that they're able to put food on the table and help them in that stage much more better. But before I get to that, so I grew up as a street vendor and selling summer veg house to house since 2002, over the past 18 years, selling summer veg, estrateni, nasetropeni. And also Ekaya school is saying is my mom has been a street vendor for over 30 years. But now what you need to understand, we have been like criminalized for the business that we are doing, you know.
Sure.
So if you look at what we've been doing, I'm not the only one, there's many of us, no. So sitengisa alcohol, but sitengisa via backdoor because we don't have a license for over the past 30 years. So now you have your customers who must look out for the police so that they don't come and take your stock. You find police coming to take your stock, and now you must run away, trying to run away from them because they cannot afford to be in a space where you can sell freely. So now what you need to understand is that the way the model has been designed is that Tina, as township people, our business people, we're at the bottom of the value chain as our resellers. You have your suppliers, your retailers, and all of those that you buy from. By the time the stock get to us, they've already made their money. And the policies that have been made, they speak to them. They don't speak to us as our street vendors on the ground. So on that part, government has failed to work with us in that regards.
Tsietsi, two steps. You were selling fruit, you were selling alcohol. Of course, we know there's regulation in South Africa, and we need to still be regulated and comply with the law. What stopped you from mobile a market, for instance, bottle store? What was the challenge that was stopping you from doing that?
So when you look at the challenge is that the cost of being licensed to operate is the first challenge and a barrier to entry.
Okay.
So now what we're saying is that we work on an actual model that says, because we understand there's so many of our small businesses across the country in which we are part of, the model that has been working for your social security, your grant and NSFAS, where they allow beneficiaries to benefit at zero cost, so that they're able to add value. So now what we're saying is that government must create provision, which our street vendors must be able to be licensed at no cost, so that they can be able to maintain the licensing fee. So that you don't have the 40,000 plus taverns that don't have a license to sell, because you don't need a license to go buy your stock, but you need a license to go sell. So now how do you build policies that align and take into mind with those into place?
And I'm not invalidating the license. It's definitely valid.
And you know, Nicolette, I mean, I'm just listening and I'm thinking from an academical element, you know, what does research say? I mean, Amir, how are we able to look at a case study like Tsietsi and the many others that are there and also say, but here's the opportunity, here's the gap?
Yeah, there's a lot that one can say on this, and there's a lot of precedents nationally and internationally that show that certain things work or don't work. So I'm going to comment on a couple of things, and I have incredible respect for the work that Wandile is doing. It's really much needed, and Wandile, over the years, we've also done a lot of those kind of community projects. And there's always an element of, but you're supporting informality.
Yes.
And my position is always, but informality is a legitimate force. We need to work with it as professionals, as policymakers. We can't pretend it's not there. And informality gives us very good hints. It guides us in terms of where the good places to trade are, where the good places to live are. We need to follow those forces, if not even anticipate them and plan for them and facilitate for them to be there. But what I would like to caution against is there's a very well-known South African planner who many years ago wrote that participation is not asking people what they want, because people's expectations are experientially determined. So based on your experience, if you say someone, what do you want? They might say, oh, I'm waiting for an RDP house. But the RDP house disadvantages you, it's poorly located. But because that's the experience, that becomes their expectation. So the work that myself and that Wandile are doing with communities, which is very consultative on the ground, needs to be balanced with we go in and help people develop a vision and a dream for what this could become. And apartheid cities were designed very meticulously, very carefully to disadvantage, but they were designed and conceptualized by people that had a very strong vision. We don't agree with the values of it. We want it to be dismantled, but it was a strong vision. Where is our strong vision now? So I would like to caution against, let's go to the informal settlement and ask them what they want. And when we do that, we end up again perpetuating difference, because you know, that's what they want and that's what they want. No, we need to think in a more holistic manner as whole communities or people residing in the city, but not constantly isolating and having different standards and different expectations for the townships.
Amira, based on what you've said, I sit there and I say, but it's great on paper. It looks fantastic. I mean, Tsietsi has a piece and thoughts about, of course, a township heist. And you look at it and say, but we are living in a political mess. We know that the people who are supposed to be held responsible aren't stepping up, but also the people that want to step up don't have financial access. So I mean, I'm getting it's okay, but what can we do? Maybe it's a dollar, so I was told a bit of a clear picture of that. I'm going to say dollar, so we're putting it in the head. I don't have parking. Okay, and then we also get audience. We also get. And what do you know what you want to say now? Okay, cool, sharp.
Yeah, I can.
So
Welcome back to Daily Thetha. If you're just joining us now, you have missed quite a lot, but remember, you can still catch it on our Facebook page. We are talking about spatial planning and how it impacts our township economies. We've heard quite a lot of suggestions. I think we need to just tighten up exactly how we are going to move forward from this. And of course, we're still joined by our guests. Tsietsi, as I was listening to you speak, license, and it's not that I'm invalidating the way businesses are going townshipping right now, space access to services. Go away. Now, what does it say to you? Because one of the things that I think you believe in is that the people in the township also need to take back their power in terms of making businesses thrive.
So township is an ecosystem.
Yeah.
So now what I've been part of, we went back and understood, Uti, we have built our own financial institutions and our own distribution channels through Stockfell, Sabomashonisa. That's what kept us as business being able to go and stock. So, but what we did now, because we went to university and got the fancy terms of debentures, which is the same as what Umashonisa was doing for you. So we took parents back into the classroom.
Yeah.
Now we teach them how to understand these terms and how to capitalize on the Stockfell model, which is the same as e-banking. But now when you get to that school, you're also faced with infrastructure problem.
Yes.
We recently went to the Eastern Cape, a school called Mzinto Primary School. We get there, the school has been existing for 112 years, no flushing toilet, pothole in the classroom. Immediately now, instead of teaching the parents about business, now we're teaching the parents to contribute 10 rands so that we can build the toilets, the school's first toilets after 112 years. So out of their 10 rand contribution, so far we've raised 43,000, our charge is 179,000. So now you look at all these models, like when we also do actual valuation for your life cover, funeral covers, it's the same thing as burial society, what we've been doing. The challenge is intellectuals or academics who comes from the township like me have abandoned these businesses. Now we don't make informed decisions so that we can plan for the future, bring the architects, the accountants in place at zero cost to say, Mama, you've been saying Lama Kunya for past 10 years. How can we project your future? Because I cannot come and say, as an actuary now, I'm going to bill you 30,000 an hour to get my service, you know? So now we need to go back to basic, which is what we are doing, and say, at zero cost, the way the government, look what the government has done. They've taken us to school for free. They've given us NSFAS to be where we are today for free. Now we're able to add value. So we must do the same thing to them and say, let's come together, bring the knowledge in, because these people are already in business. These business are not 6 months. They're not running, they're running for decades, and they're not funded. So now, how do we turn what they are doing into big business? Because on average, we make over 20 million a day collectively as these small businesses.
Me, I hear the numbers. Numbers came goes up, it's 100%. But access to structure, ngifuna uqala ibhizinisi, there's an open ground. Kodwa in the same community, kunomuntu who is now blocking ukuthi mina ngithole indawo because they're politically connected. How are we solving that too? Because ngesikhuluma ngemali kuphela, singakhulumi about the structured leaders that are stopping us from progressing.
So if you're a business person and being on the ground for years, you understand which access to market is not a problem. You can start anywhere at any time. But accessibility for working with your municipality, that's where the challenge comes in. You try to apply to get a space, it takes you forever. But you can start wherever you are. Hence you see our mechanic anywhere in the street, they're setting up, they're fixing those cars. The market is there, they will come to get the service. Hence we are saying government must come in on board and work with us. But the most important thing is educating people to understand the bylaws and the rules and regulation, but at zero cost. Don't price us, because now if we use the model we're currently using, government can collect millions of revenue from the small license fee of 10 rand a month from all the street vendors, allowing us to sell freely and not be criminalized for selling bananas in the street because it's so called not to be there. Because what you need to understand and be realistic, I'll just take you back to the alcohol issue. You have ShopRite next to you who's been coming 2 days ago. Now they have a trading liquor license, while the city has been aware that you have over 10,000 taverns in the area who don't have a license. And now the people who are buying from the distributors with the license, last stock account, to trade and to that. So the question is, how do we integrate those people who are already in business, never being funded, or they not benefit from any government funding? And if you look at the business that have been funded, they say they've been funded, we can't even pinpoint them in the townships.
Tsietsi, a very strong point that you are making then. I think it's actually a conversation that we definitely need to make time for. But when we started the show, we placed a problem. And as Daily Thetha, our job is to really find those solutions. So Kinyaka remove to this idea of value chain, keeping the money within the economy, one delay, but also Amira spoke about, we've got these fragmented spaces that we have in the townships. How do we bring them together? Now that people are living every day in these townships. So to say stop and fix is impossible. How do we pick up from where we are right now and move forward?
I think that's a really good point. And I think it takes collective action. Umfethu ade khuluma la ukuthi ngizoyenza njani manje ngoba lo muntu u-governmentally connected and we can't do this, we can't do this. Look, we can look at those barriers all day. But at the end of the day, we elect the government, one. But also at the end of the day, we hold the buying power. Ithina sithenga Spar, ithina sithenga Shoprite. Mina into engishoyo ukuthi if you want a service yaseTasha's, kodwa uyifuna elokishini but usathenga eTasha's. No, thenga kamthiyane restaurant. Because if you buy more there, then they have more resources to improve their space. Right? And if they have more resources to improve their space, that's where we gather. And then number two, collective action in terms of the community coming together and discussing these things and starting to be creating those chariots. I can come to the correct. We can come to those meetings and start doing those things, right? And then we need to then fight the politicians to implement them. Then last but not least, apartheid architecture was a very deliberate system with a vision which worked really well to deprive us of economic opportunities and enable others. But our government today does not have a very deliberate vision to empower black people within these low-income communities. Why aren't we creating cities that enable that?
Do they know how?
Well, we are here.
So they have the policy. Our policies are very, very advanced. I mean, one of the things I was reading the last few days is the strategy for supporting township economies in Gauteng. If you read that, it's a very nice document. If you read housing policy, very nice documents. If you read the visions in National Development Plan, Chapter 8, spatial transformation, everything in there, I have no arguments against it at all. It's really, really visionary. How do we implement it? And one conversation that came up a few minutes ago before the show was, if we have the policies and they're so advanced and we know what we need to do, why are we not doing it? But do the people in government, and it's government that facilitated and motivated to have those policies put in place, but the people that are now in government, so the policy clearly says don't criminalize informal activity. But I know there's many government officials that do criminalize informal activity. So where's the mistake happening? Where is
You know what it reminds me of? That young man that was stripped of his sandwiches. I just forgot his name. We had him on the show where he also he felt like a criminal for trying to survive. And it's worse, we're feeling like that in our own townships. But quickly before we go, Putam, your last thoughts before Spuma, because I know you've been wanting to share also. And just bring up your mic.
Sorry, I just wanted to establish from the elders. In terms of how we approach the government, do you think it's actually needed that we use them?
Time's up. Time's up.
Definitely, the show does carry on social media. So let's go and see you guys tomorrow at 10:30 only on SABC 1. Bye.